And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have 1, 2, 3 good brothers and sisters. Ha 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 ha. We have one of the many pun masters, and the man who had the blondest of blonde moments earlier in the day. Good brother Joe.
I am not. Oh, hi everyone. Joe, fortune teller at your service.
Nice save. Just remember, folks, you don't need to have blonde hair to have a blonde moment.
Hey, I resemble that.
I am that, except without the blonde hair.
Then you should know.
That was the point.
That's the joke. You suck, McBain. Bada, bada, bada. Getting that out of my system. The man behind the Wanderer's Library, and the man who I may or may not have talked into doing a dramatic reading of Masters of Doom. Good brother Sig.
I still gotta get that the physical book for that, but hell, I'll do I'll try anything once.
And the lady who is currently on a quest to try and get every single ending in Chrono Trigger. Good sister Tabby.
I mean, we're about halfway done now.
For now.
It's easier, you know, whenever you're just on New Game Plus, level 60 characters, just like stabbing everything in the face. So.
But we are back once again, and thank you, Jill, for being open to joining as the fourth member of this particular party. Going forward. So this will technically be your first full season.
Ah.
But last time around, we tackled the character creation portion of Farsight, which is there going to be some familiar DNA to people who have dabbled with 5e? Yeah. However, the differences became very apparent very quickly. I mean, one of the major differences, of course, is you're rolling 2d12 and not a d20. But I would say the setup that we have with Farsight is far more customizable, despite the fact that there are only 3 classes in the game.
Hey, but with those 3 classes, you can do a lot.
You can pretty much make almost anything with those classes. Anything that you'd want to do, at least.
But I'd say the major changes that are noticeable when it comes to character creation is 7 ability scores, or rather the fact that instead of doing the ability score thing, it's just straight modifiers, and you have 7 of them. The fact that skills are a much bigger emphasis here. The talent setup, and in addition to all of that, the fact that leveling up is far more customizable with the 10-point rule that it has, instead of always getting a certain thing. And even though it's not doing the talent and feat alternating thing that you see in Saga Edition, we have instead 3 classes that have a lot of wiggle room. If anything, I'd say the 3 classes we see here are more like archetypes, since it's pretty much falling into the golden triangle of warrior, rogue, and mage, just with a different name. I do remember someone bringing up last week, I don't know if it was you, Sig, or someone else, that actually, I think it might have been Smacks, that there were parallels between that and... Actually, no, it wasn't Smacks. What am I talking about? The 3 Jedi types in Knights of the Old Republic. I would say instead of the Jedi types, it's more akin to the 3 core classes. You know, Jedi, Soldier, and Scoundrel.
Yep.
But tonight, we're getting into the rules proper. And I do appreciate that each chapter opens up with a quote. In this, it was Hydra. In my defense, it's been a long week, and a lot of things get lost in the shuffle. But in this case, the quote is from Thomas Edison saying, "Hell, there are no rules here. We're trying to accomplish something." But the first thing that they go into is ability checks, which is a pretty standard setup. 2d12 plus the ability score, plus the skill, plus any skill bonus, and any modifiers. This is up against a DC, and you roll over, you pass. Then we have the DC setups, which aren't exactly the rule of 5 that you'd see in a d20 based approach, which makes sense because you're rolling 2d12, not a d20. And of course, then we have types of checks, and each of these is pretty straightforward. Opposed checks, I don't think I need to explain what that is. Complex check is essentially a protracted skill challenge. Cooperative checks, self-explanatory there. Passive checks, which is always 12 plus the appropriate ability score and then any modifiers. If the passive check would have advantage, 3, add 3, or subtract 3 if it has disadvantage. And as an aside, it seems that the range between DCs seems to be a rule of 3 or 4 depending on the degree of difficulty, as opposed to a straight 5.
Mm-hmm.
But we have attack rules, which we'll get into when it comes to combat, and saving throws, which is basically just using the ability score as normal. Now, advantage and disadvantage is going to be what you would expect with this setup. It's just that instead of an extra d20, it's an extra d12, and you're either dropping the highest or the lowest. But I say I want to see if they stack. No, only one additional d12 is rolled. That's unfortunate. I really think you can add a bit more crazy to this kind of setup if you allow multiple stacks of advantage or disadvantage from multiple sources.
Sounds like something that one could house rule.
Well, it's what I would end up doing, and it's what Emberwind does. It has advantage and disadvantage for its d20 based approach, but it doesn't stop at 1.
Fair enough.
See, then we have Strain and Tenacity, which is basically a means of draining Vitality points, the game's HP equivalent. And basically, with Strain, if a task requires some extra effort, you'd have to spend 1 to 6 Vitality points to do the check, or suffer disadvantage. And regardless if you're successful, you get a level of exhaustion. Whereas Tenacity, you can spend 3 Vitality points to get a +1 bonus, up to a maximum of +3. But if this would reduce you to 0, you can't do it. So that is something different of being able to use your HP as an extra effort system if you want. But then we have special results. These happen if you roll a 12 or a 1 on one of the dice. For rolling a 12, it says, if you roll a 12 and the check is successful, fate favors you and you manage to perform an exploit, which intensity depends on the result of the other die, the one that didn't roll a 12. Consult the exploits table and choose one corresponding to the rank equal to or less than the result of the second die. Alternatively, you can invent new exploits. Otherwise, if the check fails, rolling a 12 does not generate any exploits, but the GM could still give less serious consequences to the failure than expected. Whereas if you roll a 1, that is a setback.
A minor setback.
You know I had to go there. Come on.
Yeah. And if you end up getting doubles, in addition to causing a setback or an exploit, the result of the check will be so sensational to enter the myth. You gain an edge card. I'll get to edge cards later. If you roll a 1 and a 12, they cancel each other out. So you just treat it as if you rolled 13. And it is possible to try again as normal. But let's see. But with the exploits table, this kind of reminds me of the stunt rules that you see in the age system. But in a roundabout way, I think I like this more than just an automatic success if you get a nat 20. But we have a chart for combat exploits and other example exploits. And I think it's important to remember that you don't have to pick the one that of the rank that you rolled. That's just the cap. But let's see, for combat exploits you have On Guard, +2 bonus to defense for 1 turn. Quick movement, you can move 3 meters or stand up if you're prone. It does not count how far you can move during that turn. Extra minor action, self-explanatory. Effective strike, you do 1d6 extra damage, and the target must succeed on a DC 17 strength stamina saving throw or be sickened until the start of your next turn. What, did you really hit them below the belt?
Yeah, it sounds like, They got kicked in a bad place, but you know what they say? A kick in the dick is a game changer.
Team play. Choose one ally you can see and who can see the target of your attack. That ally can immediately make an attack against that target using their reaction. That could be particularly... I wonder if you could chain that. Like, imagine if you get 2 or 3 people in the same party that roll 12 and 6. You know, one person shoots, then the next person shoots, and it keeps going. Let's see. Help. You can take the help action as an extra action. Vanish. You can immediately take the hide action as an extra action if circumstances allow it.
What? You don't hide in plain sight?
45 stealth, what?
Powerful Strike deals 1d8 extra damage and the target suffers a trauma. We'll get to traumas later when we get into combat. Lethal Strike deals 1d10 extra damage and the target suffers a trauma. Or Climb the Initiative. From the start of the next combat round, you act first in the initiative order. Or then we have other example exploits such as Memorable Joke.
God, I better not show one particular player in this because he's always trying to make jokes.
His name is the Hippo. Come on.
I mean, sounds like
I
a
love
really hip person. Haha.
And anyway, Distraction. Which, until the start of your next turn, the target has a disadvantage on perception checks that are not directed towards you. Masterful Execution, though is a bit of a typo when it's not bolded. You only need half the amount of time. One more thing!
We really reference
Must
Jackie
be
Chan
magic?
Adventures?
Yes! You can
That's
make
okay, I love that show.
You can make a second ability check to expand the results of the original check. The extra check cannot use the same skill in the original check and cannot generate exploits, but it doesn't require additional time or resources, since it's considered complementary. I could see that getting used by skill monkeys. But then we have Focused Attention. You have advantage on any other ability check made to examine, study, or understand the target for 10 minutes. Influencing the audience. Your arguments are so effective that, in addition to the intended target, they also influence others who witness the scene. Many of those present will lead to support your reasons relating to the current circumstance. Let's see. Astonished Silence. Self-explanatory there. Emotional Response, also self-explanatory. Discovery, you guess additional information. Or Sign of Destiny, you get an edge card and can choose any exploit of rank 7 or lower. And it looks like with setbacks, instead of picking the rank one, you just roll 2d10 and see what happens. But then we have skills. I think everyone here knows what a skill is in TTRPGs, so I don't need to go into that. But we do have a list of the different skills that are tied to different attributes, and I really don't think the problem that we have with skill systems in more litigious TTRPGs is really present here, of some skills getting some attributes getting the lion's share of skills while others don't. Because everybody's getting a good amount. And only 2 of them have one less than... Actually, 3 of them only have one less than everybody else. So with combativity, which is the attribute related entirely to combat, we have cold weapons, energy weapons, gunnery, kinetic weapons, natural weapons, throwing, and wrestling. The strength skills are athletics, climbing, might, stamina, swimming, and 0G. The dex skills are acrobatics, dancing, piloting, reflex, riding, stealth, and sleight of hand. Perception is alertness, insight, inspection, music, survival, and visual arts. Intelligence is erudition, lucidity, medicine, nature, psionics, science, and warfare. Will is charisma, cunning, fortitude, intimidation, socialite, streetwise, and trading. And tech is astronautics, computer, cybernetics, explosives, mechatronics, and mystification.
Mystification. Nice.
But we mentioned this last week, but once we saw the way the ability scores work in this, any sort of one-to-one that somebody could make with, say, 5e goes out the window.
Definitely.
Yep.
For sure. Don't know why I said it like that.
Though it is interesting that cold weapons is the catch-all for things like for what would be archaic weapons in some other sci-fi games. You know, swords, axes, daggers, clubs, spears, slings, bows, crossbows, blowguns. I don't know why I said bowgun for a moment.
Because you're probably playing Resident Evil 2.
I mean, you could go with the idea that a cold weapon is not going to, it's going to be your mundane ones in general, because they're cold, they don't have energy, they don't have heat that's produced to make it happen, other than, none of those really have heat that makes them happen.
And I'd imagine if somebody wants to do the, monk route, they're probably going to be specializing in natural weapons.
Or wrestling. Behold, I can actually make my luchador. Ha-ha!
Yes, the return of Los Tiburon.
The land shark.
Yep. But with exploration, that mostly focuses on time, movement, things like travel pace, and difficult terrain. A lot of this is very standard fare, so I don't see a reason to go too deep into it. Also, apparently, I do want to read off what mystification is as a skill, though. Competence in creating disguises, counterfeits, forgeries, and similar artifacts. It concerns disguising oneself or others, forging both physical and electronic documents, and also includes knowing how to encrypt and decrypt information.
Sounds like Aratani there, Tabby.
What? I mean, I was listening, but what?
What mystification was, it's related to creating disguises, counterfeits, and forgeries.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's 100% Aratani.
Then you have the approaches you can do during exploration, the environment. A lot of this is nice, but I don't run my games very simulation heavy, so a good amount of this isn't going to come up unless I need it to come up. I do like that we have rules for how much damage and the DC for collisions.
That is nice.
Which will be very good if I ever do one of the greatest martial strikes in any sort of combat scenario. Attack the enemy with a building.
God damn.
I just want to throw one motherfucker after another motherfucker.
What in the Kingdom Hearts are you trying to do here, Mildred?
Mario on steroids, that's what I'm hearing.
Now,
Kingdom Hearts, I'm getting Metal Gear Rising vibes.
imagine
That's
you.
right.
Final Fantasy VI vibes and Chrono Trigger, but then again, I've been playing those.
Imagine, if you will.
Building that's happening in Final Fantasy VI.
Umaru could probably through a building.
Yeah. Imagine, if you
what?
will, using the Space Needle as the world's largest polearm.
I mean, I can see it. I've seen Stranger.
Umaru would use the Space Needle as a polearm. Canon confirmed in my head.
Amaro's great. I love Amaro.
Then we get to the social interaction part, which is divided between role-playing and ability checks. Social interaction mechanics aren't exactly at the forefront with something like 5e, and it's a bit more at the forefront here, but still not as much, especially when it comes to combat. I mean, the social interaction thing only got one page, and it's just using ability checks. But then we get to combat. So I think the first thing to note is initiative works the way you'd expect. You can choose to delay if need be. Well, on your turn, you can move your speed, take one action and one minor action. I noticed that they don't have any notion of a bonus action, which I'm perfectly fine with, because the idea of bonus action got way overused in a lot of mechanics in 5e.
Especially with casters.
Or, you know, anyone with some kind of, like, ability that didn't require magic.
Yeah, because there's still that cope about how mages aren't supposed to be powerful. But, and we do have a thing on movement. A lot of it is pretty standard to this sort of grid combat approach. As well as things like flying movement, size and space. Part of the reason I'm skimming a lot of this is that it's still built on that D20 framework, even if it is using a D12. So a lot of this isn't exactly new.
But it's very familiar for those who are looking for an alternative to 5e, and I'd say this is a good middle ground.
It's the baby steps away that maybe somebody's looking for.
I'd say especially if they want to lean into space opera but still want to have something somewhat familiar. I know there's Expedition to the Mysterious Peaks, but that is far more science fantasy than anything else. But and things like overrun, even if it doesn't say it, it's basically a charge. We still have opportunity attacks. And we do still have a defense bonus when it comes to distance. At least when it comes to melee attacks. And a bonus when it comes to cover. But things like flanking and elevated position are optional rules. But we do, when it comes to melee attacks, we do have the option for grappling. Which, as well as disarming and shoving, so nice. Though, once again, when it comes to grappling, it just focuses on grabbing and holding somebody, so because of it, with no rules for, say, slamming. I know one could argue that would just be a combativity wrestling check, dealing unarmed damage, but I feel like that's a cop-out. especially if somebody wants to go full on wrestling with the concept.
Mildred plays a grappler in DFO confirmed.
I love DFO.
So do we. Me
You?
and Abby are big fans.
We should play together sometime.
Nin
Hell
Master
yeah, man,
Race.
that's what's up.
I'm the Nin Master Master Race. That's all I gotta say.
Slayer all the way.
Dirty Fighter.
Male or female?
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
Mhm.
Those are my mains. They're fighters. And male mage.
But
I also. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
we also have the different types of damage to note, which are kinetic, energy, bionic, and psychic. Biotic damage is not biotics from Mass Effect. In this case, it is essentially biological effects. Diseases, poisons, toxins, that sort of thing.
Shoot and glop at your enemies.
Then we have the armor value, which fully applies against kinetic damage and is halved against energy damage. Armor value is straight up soak. Which I am personally perfectly fine with.
That's something I don't see very much in TTRPGs, so that's pretty neat.
I see it plenty, but it avoids the weird thing of heavy armor somehow making you more
Evasive.
Yeah. I know some people have tried to twist themselves into pretzels trying to justify it, but not hitting against someone's defense is referred to as a miss, as in you miss them with your attack. So how am I not supposed to see that as dodging? Because an argument
Just a wee
Mildred,
bit.
I think you cut out a little bit.
Don't know. He's gone.
Hello?
He gone.
Alley.
Don't know what happened there.
Yeah, that was weird.
Incredibly so.
But when it comes to death and death saving throws, that is pretty standard fare. But then we get to traumas. This was hinted at earlier. So traumas can take the form of physical or mental. When you suffer a trauma, it's whenever you're reduced to 0 vitality points, or if an effect from setbacks or the like would make you suffer a trauma. The nature of it depends on the type of damage. However, creatures can also suffer trauma in other circumstances, including an effect that causes one, exploits and setbacks, as mentioned earlier, GM's choice for things like accidents or shocking experiences, or something that causes a severe physical trauma might also cause a mental trauma.
Like me whenever someone makes a Joe Mama joke.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So then we have a location table for these kind of things. Like for mild physical traumas, for injuries, the D12 determines if your head, torso, arms, or legs are injured. Then there's more severe ones that have a few other effects. You're stunned until the end of your next turn. You are bleeding until that condition is eliminated. Each time you attempt an action during your turn, you must make a DC 15 Strength Stamina saving throw. If you fail, you lose the action and can't take reactions until the start of your next turn. And you suffer one of the D12 effects.
Please excuse me while I push my entrails in.
And there's mild mental traumas, so a shock test. Or severe mental trauma, which is referred to as a psychosis, as the effect of Your intellect, will, or tech scores decrease by 1. Each time you attempt an action during your turn, you must make a DC 15 Intelligence Lucidity saving throw. If you fail, you lose the action and can't take reactions until the start of your next turn, and you suffer a D8 random effect. But
Some of these are nasty.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. Some of these I'm looking at this going, well, Sig, now you know why I'm going to get my LPC now, right?
But
I'm gonna go get a big girl job.
then we have special rules for things like attacking objects. Though if I'm being honest, I've never used structure points or object value because I've had one too many experiences of somebody trying to kick a door down, but they don't do enough damage on the roll. Even if they're strength 20.
I immediately went to ripping a door off the hinges and using it as a shield.
We had a paladin that did that once.
But see, then we have resting and healing, as well as recovering from traumas. At the end of a full rest, you make a DC 15 saving throw, using either for physical traumas, strength, stamina, and for psychic traumas or mental ones, will, fortitude. And hello there, out. We are continuing our look into Farsight tonight. See, then we actually do have a form of resting and short resting that makes damn sense. And at the end of each rest, you gain vitality points equal to D6 plus strength. Which doesn't sound like much, but vitality has a lower range in this than standard hit points. Let's see, but then we have conditions, and a lot of the conditions are ones you would expect. And then between adventures, so what you can do between the major things, including downtime activities. It's always nice to have these kind of things. Including crafting fake or shoddy items. But then we have edge cards. The use of edge cards is a rule that the GM can use to reward players for role-playing their characters according to their disposition and personality. Each edge card carries 2 sentences, each of which describes some kind of event. It can be something simple or generic, like something suddenly breaks, or someone trips and falls, or something more specific that affects the rules, like someone hits an ally by mistake, or someone cheats death and clings to life. The GM can give you an edge card for several reasons, usually good roleplay, or use edge cards to promote a certain style of play. When this happens, you draw an edge card from the deck. You can have a maximum of 3 edge cards at a time. If you already have 3 and you draw another one, you have to choose one of them to discard. Or you can just choose not to keep it. You can also reward another player by giving them one of the edge cards you have, unless that player already has 3. At the end of the game session, all edge cards are discarded, so don't hoard them.
So just like people hoard their inspiration point until they need it like 15 sessions later. Can't do that.
Nope. You either use it or you will lose it.
I'd kind of house rule if someone had like 3 edge cards. If they went to drew a new one, they had to use that one right away. But that's just me.
I might house rule it where if they like, you could have them like I like the idea of maximum of 3, but you like discard 1. You have to discard 1 a session, so you can never have more than 3.
I feel like
but
that
you
it's...
also can.
I get that, but I feel like that'd still create the too good to use problem.
Which is fair.
It's fair.
And even with that, you can only use 1 per encounter, or any other type of scene. That, and it only really has some effect if you play them at the right time. When playing an edge card, you must choose one of the 2 sentences written on it. The card will take effect immediately, and you'll have to tell the GM or the other players how the sentence you have chosen will affect the game. Sometimes it'll be simple, sometimes less so. You can also burn an edge card, playing it face down without using either of its sentences, to gain advantage on 1 ability check. Remember that you can also use edge cards in favor or against creatures, NPCs, or other players' characters. And since the next page goes straight into equipment and technologies, I think this would be as good a time as any to look at a few edge cards. And let me load that up. So I'm going to show the deck part of things on screen. And I think I'll do the fit page version. So the first one we have is either something that seemed to continue actually ends, or someone behaves in a strange, unusual, or ambiguous way. Or someone behaves in a contemptuous or disrespectful way, or something that seemed to be ending actually continues. And there's about 51 cards in the deck. And this kind of reminds me of the whole dichotomy of normal and reversed cards in tarot. And just so you guys can see it, let me put the... There's the edge deck. I just put it in the server for you guys.
We did have a question in chat from Aud. The one question I have for sci-fi TTRPGs is how do they handle space combat?
That is coming later.
Soon, TM.
Yeah. I appreciate that instead of trying to put space combat within the combat section we have here, space combat is going to, and just space travel, is going to be its own section.
Which is a lot more than a lot of other things do.
Yeah, in fact, that is going to be Chapter 4 in Vehicles and Starships. So it is coming, but patience. And as far as... I see Hydra saying that edge cards kind of remind him of Cards Against Humanity. I was honestly thinking of things like the Fortune deck and like I said, the Tarot. Because it's providing a prompt that has to be interpreted. And because of the fact that you can burn an edge card to get advantage on a check, that makes the whole 3-card limit even all the more important. Because do you do this to give yourself a situational advantage or an extra d12?
I think this is interesting because it's like, it's the idea that you can use one of these on another person's character is a little bit, it depends on what you're doing on it, granted, but like that's something that we had house ruled that literally stuff like, because people were trying to be like, oh, I'm persuading you with all of this stuff. It's like, nah, you can't do that, you know, like trying to take away player agency. But I could see these actually being hilarious at the same time.
These aren't really taking away players' agency, it's putting a monkey wrench in it.
someone says or does something inappropriate or embarrassing.
Hmm.
I've never done this at all.
Like my thing, like if you put something like this in front of a pacifist character, it's like someone says or does something reckless or risky, but the character that you are playing that on is someone who literally, like, the most risky thing they do is try to ask out their drow girlfriend. It's like they might not be able to. It's like in character reckless or risky, or is it just like actually reckless or risky, kind of that kind of thing?
In that kind of situation, I think it's going to come down to the GM, especially whether or not they choose to veto what someone might want to do with their particular. Because the thing is, they can't just play the card and then it automatically happens. They have to describe how the sentence that they're using fits into the situation at hand, and I think in that situation, it's going to come down to GM approval at the end of the day.
Most of these are like really interesting with like the kind of the good and the bad, or the, and all that. My only fear on it would be like using it on another player's character, only because we have had discussions back in 2017, like 8 years ago in the group that we're in, about like player agency and stuff like that, and people can't do that. So it's like we've had that random discussion. So I think that having the DM be like yay or nay on stuff would it's definitely good on these.
And that just comes down to the GM knowing the room. But as an aside, as I mentioned before, even with the edge cards, all the art is nothing but bangers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, especially in the book itself, especially like up on the I saw it a bit ago. It was not that one. It was near the combat section at the beginning. I get kind of a Halo meets Starship Troopers type vibe from it.
We already have Halo meets Starship Troopers. It's called Helldivers.
That is true.
I'm doing my part.
And yeah, some of the art in the edge cards is reused from the core book, but I feel
Art's really good.
Like, I don't see anything wrong with that because it's
And-
really, really good.
And so far, none of the firearms that we've seen make me tilt my head the way some firearms in sci-fi settings can. I mean, I could look at some art and say it reminds me of this or that, but it's not a one-to-one. It's only a one-to-one if you're desperately looking for that kind of thing. And there's only one person in the server who desperately looks for that kind of thing, and he is not in this call. But okay, I will admit the image that I've got on screen here, which is on page 49 of the deck PDF. Let me take a moment to just appreciate the idea of a rifle with an energy bayonet.
Oh, hell yes.
I don't know why, but that's giving me Gundam vibes.
You're thinking of 00.
Don't tell me what I'm thinking. I'm the fortune teller, not you.
Taking away his player agency. Just saying.
Don't be
Wait,
so easy to
person
read.
agency.
I am not even touching this one.
It's like I'm backing out of this joke.
I'm setting my wallet down and backing away slowly.
I'm not setting my wallet down. That's my money.
No, we're not setting wallets down. Nope. Government
I'm
taking
sorry.
it.
Yeah, another one.
I'm setting your wallet down and backing away slowly.
Another one I happened to find.
Mildred's wallet, right?
Absolutely not. Oh,
He would beat all of our asses.
Before or after we get his wallet, though?
Yes.
Before, during, and after. And then
That's
afterwards, just leave you outside when the blizzard comes and let Mother Nature sort it out.
Oh
Will never
man,
bother
I'm
me
allergic to
anyway.
the cold. Literally.
Joke's on you. I could just dimension door back to the library.
But
Summon me a dragon, it'll be fine.
I can't help but enjoy the idea we have here of a robot chef.
Hey, I have something like that in my game. Only he's a
You
baker.
do! I
Well,
love him.
they never
He's a
forget
baker
a
that calls
recipe.
one. He's a baker that calls Tabby's character a fuckface a lot.
Mhm.
And Mr. Erectus.
Or the fact that even thousands of years into the future, everybody's still having ramen.
I mean,
Or
I mean, noodles are eternal.
noodles are eternal, yes.
or if I want to really pander, maybe that's bell peppers and beef with no beef.
I mean, you're traveling the stars and probably going for days at a time, so you gotta have something quick to keep going.
Mhm.
It's ice cream. Freeze-dried ice cream. Or beans.
But with that said, I know we skipped a lot when it comes to the core mechanics, but how are you guys feeling about Farsight so far?
Looks good.
It seems fun.
Bless
I
you.
think I think I've voiced the only concern I have, which is with the edge cards being used on another character. I think in our games, I think that we would end up probably saying nah, we can't use it on those on other players, because we've had the situations before with a DM who didn't listen.
You've
So,
had moments of that guy.
Yes, we have had
yes.
moments of that guy. So we're like, I was even talking to Sig, and I'm like, I think that I would love edge cards as long as they're being used on like the situation, NPCs, and trying to either better or worse, whatever the situation. But as long as it's not, or maybe say, hey, maybe the other player being able to use that, be like, I want to use this on your thing, and asking, kind of like a. Not consent, that sounds wrong, but you know what I mean, like just not taking it away from them.
Yeah.
Because of having that guy.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, a lot of the stuff in here is going to be familiar, but it's for that reason that I skimmed a lot of it, because if you've dealt with a D20 based game, you know a good chunk of these. I think one of the more interesting things that we have with this system is how it is handling natural 1s and 12s in a way that isn't just an auto hit.
Did it ever say what traumas are? Because I was reading and I was trying to figure out if it had a specific one, because maybe I missed it and I'm like cross-eyed or something. I don't know.
You missed
Maybe
it because we talked about it, and I showed.
Oh, is that the mental and severe trauma, like the mental and physical thing?
Yes.
Okay, my brain just completely like farted on that. I saw it. I just was like, wait, where'd it go? Ignore me, I'm being stupid.
Like that. I need to take a quick bio.
And admittedly, this was going to be a lighter affair compared to what we've got coming, because looking at the chapter list, next week is going to be where we start talking about equipment.
Woohoo!
And for a sci-fi setting, that is going to be important.
Might have to make up my Draki skill monkey, because that's a character idea I've had.
Oh, there it is. It was definitely. I even commented on it. Just decided to go.
Which is why I was so confused for a moment.
You know what? It's been a day. Blame Siggy. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's not my
no,
fault.
I'm blaming you.
Why does everyone blame the Wanderer, man?
No, I'm not blaming the
Because-
Wanderer. I'm blaming Tabby.
Okay, I'll take it.
I've had a couple of days that have just been very, with some severe mental trauma. Let me just put it that way. So.
That is fair. But
With some mild physical.
yeah. With that said, as mentioned, next week we're going to be getting into equipment. It's mostly going to be concerning weapons and armor, not necessarily vehicles. That's happening in 2 weeks. And it's within that vehicle section that we will get into things like space combat. Now, something else I will also note. We won't be able to get into it here, but if somebody ends up grabbing the game, I would also recommend they grab the expansion book Chronicles of the Edge, which not only has a few additional character options, but also advice if you want to play around with other genres.
It's on my list. I definitely want to get a hold of this book because this sounds like it'd be a blast to run.
Yep. Now, the new character options are things like new species, some new talents, new psychic powers, which we will get to psychic powers later in the series, as well as equipment and vehicles. For GMs, a few new rules and a few new stats, things like authority, corruption, tension, rules on artifact, which is basically a magic item equivalent, as well as a full-on set, which is why the Chronicles of the Edge book is about 300 pages, give or take a few. Because you have a campaign setting known as Atlas and a scenario collection known as Sagas. So it should be noted, even with the player side of the expansion, no new classes. Which makes sense because you don't really need to. You don't really need additional classes for this. Additional talents, that'll be useful. Also, I decided on a whim to look to note that early on in the game's development, somebody submitted, and I told Sig and Tabby about this last week. Somebody submitted a Vogon species, as in the Vogons from Hitchhikers.
Yep.
And not only that, but also stats for a Vogon slapstick. And unfortunate. And I will note one of the things that's in the monster entry for them is they have the reaction "resistance is useless." As a reaction, a Vogon can enter the phrase "resistance is useless." It's absolutely useless, but it seems the Vogons like to say it. And yes, one of the actions they can take is Vogon poetry.
God damn it, Mildra.
As an action, the Vogon begins to declaim a Vogon poem, a traditional one or something invented on the spot. No one is able to understand the difference. Any creature within 20 meters of the Vogon that can hear its voice must succeed on a DC 18 Willpower Fortitude saving throw, or become sickened until the start of the Vogon's next turn, due to intense pain and a sense of nausea caused by poetry.
Sounds about right.
They also have the trait of worst shooters in the galaxy, because they have disadvantage to any ranged attack roll and a -2 penalty on ranged attack rolls. And their weapon action, which is a second-hand kinetic rifle, notes anyone who gets hit by a Volgun is quite surprised and wonder how the heck this could have happened. They also have they also roll with disadvantage on attack rolls made against crabs and crab-like creatures.
What have you started?
I didn't start this. It was there long before I showed up. But
A likely story.
It's fine. I'll deal with it as it comes.
With crinkly bindle-wordles, you will.
Oh my.
But that will take care of this particular episode. We will be back here next week, and I will be back here tomorrow doing an interview with the developer of Night Watch. And of course, this Sunday will be the grand triumphant return of the Hangover Shit Show, since we are doing part 2 of that, because Jesus Christ, there are so many indie games to showcase. So, as in the words of Yoshi P, please look forward to it. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Sure,